JSA 17, Jeff Lemire writing with Gavin Guidry on the art. It's an easy read. That's my short review. It's easy.
So that's what I feel. I love these characters. We've been over this a million times. I feel like the Orange Cassidy meme of "I'm so tired, Renee." Like it is spinning its wheels consistently. And finally at the end there's a little epilogue where it feels like the story's moving, but I still don't feel like there's any resolution to the year one stuff.
That's the thing. This effectively has a main story and a backup. The backup being, and it's not really a backup in the traditional sense, but I just mean in terms of like size, where the last like few pages are in the present day, and it's like the characters talking in present day about what's been going on, and that they have to kind of like, hey, that's like reassemble the team. You know, some people have dipped out, but here's a couple of members that are, you know, new members showing up or coming back. And all I could think was, yeah, this thing does not work as a year one at all, especially if, like, because this is not even the final issue of year one. So if you're reading the collection of, like, JSA year one, and all of a sudden, like, if someone's handed it to you as, like, oh, you can read this first as your first JSA story, and then you get to this future present day stuff at the end of this one, you're like, you wouldn't have a clue what this is referring to or what's going on. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I mean, it's pleasant enough to get through. You've got Alan Scott fighting Ultra Humanite in his current body, which is where we left off last issue, and he's all evil, and that's fine. And then the Hawks show up and kind of get involved in that fight, so they kind of cross paths with Alan, Wonder Woman, and Hippolyta specifically, and Atom end up crossing paths with Jay Garrick and Johnny Thunder. And then, so basically all this issue really was everyone eventually crossing paths, to the point where by the end of the year one part of the story, everyone assembles in the same room and they're in a big circle, and it's like, oh, maybe we should start working together. At least Johnny Thunder's trying to champion that anyway.
Yeah.
And
It's a crime buster convention.
Yes, that's what he says. And then Ultimate Humanite, we have a quick scene with him talking to the other villains and, you know, what he's up to and whatnot. But yeah, because it's basically Sandman and Hourman who, like, you know, they think, oh, someone's showing up, and it ends up in half the other heroes, and then the other group who have not been around show up, and that's basically it. Like, I don't really have like a whole lot to say about any of this other than just it's all the characters kind of running into each other in the same location. And you know, it's fine, but it's not like if you were doing like a story where the whole thing was building to these characters finally meeting each other and teaming up. This feels like very anticlimactic for that. And that's not necessarily what I wanted this whole book to be anyway. But like, even if that's what I'm going to judge it on is what it is, then
there's all these moving pieces just to get them to bump into each other. That's effectively what they do.
Yeah.
Like, there's no coordinated effort. They all end up at the same place at the same time, almost by chance.
And it's,
you know, and that's not a great way to build a team.
Well, in theory, I can see the argument for if someone wants to try and defend it and say, well, they all end up at the same place because their investigations all lead to this same location. And in theory, yeah, that's what's happening. But it would be, you know, more impressive if it actually felt like we could see that coming, because they're all sort of starting to get leads to the same location, and we could sort of build up to, oh, they're going to run into each other. It's going to be a big thing. Or maybe you tease like one group of characters is going to one place, but we don't know exactly where it is, and it turns out to be the same place as everyone else, so you get excited by that. I don't know. It just kind of feels like a bit of a non-thing. It's just like, oh, we're all here in the same place now. How do we feel about that? An explosion goes off. All right. Yeah. That's a cliffhanger. And I almost like closed the book because I didn't realize that there was more. And when I went to the next page, I was like, wait, is this more JSA? Is this like some sort of tease for something else? And I'm like, oh no, it's actually just more of this book. Yeah. And like I said earlier, it's just the characters talking about the fact that they've lost some people. It's Jay and Alan who are like, what do we do? Everyone's looking to us because we're the old timers. And, you know, the Alan's kids come in saying, no, we can't give up. The JSA is important. We have to be this. You know, we still have all these people on the team, and hey, we've got good news. Stargirl and Atom Smasher are here, and they're going to be back on the team. And Yeah, and what's so weird is that this actually has its own, because this is why I thought the book was over before, is that the explosion page at the end of the year one section, it does just have like the credits at the bottom, like, oh, that's the end, like, oh, this is chapter 5 of year one, next month we're doing this. But then there's this few extra pages, so there's 4 extra pages at the end. And when I say extra, I don't mean they're literally extra. I'm sure the main story was just shorter than normal.
Short.
But, you know, this has its own title. It says The Search for the Spectre, Prelude, Part 1. So we're getting kind of like this little search. We're getting like a prelude to the next arc as a backup in the last few issues of year one. Okay, just a bit weird.
It's definitely weird because it even teases the Spectre in the next issue, but then this is the search for Spectre.
Yes.
So like, yeah, tipping the hand a bit. Also didn't sink in with me when Jay says that he was born in 1918. And I was like, oh man, this dude's like in modern times, he's 100 and like, what, hold on. I'm bad at math, guys. 108 years old? So, like, as much as I love these characters, do we need them in modern day? Like, I get Flash and whatever, but now I just feel like as we're getting closer to 100 years post them being around, I don't know, they feel kind of like they don't have a place.
Well,
you know?
I mean, that's just relevant to, like, how good their stories are. And, like, them being, like, unnaturally old has been a thing for decades and decades at this point. So, you know, they were already, like, they shouldn't have existed in present day working in the 90s, but they were. And it's just always been this kind of, you know, comic book sci-fi, like, they're aging slower for reasons or whatever. So...
Well, we're just getting to the point now that they're all people out of time, right? So, yeah, I don't know. It's weird when they pointed that out. You know, like, they didn't have to say that. You don't have to make it, you know, you don't have to put a spotlight on that type of stuff, but Lemire chose to.
Well, no, you kind of do, because their backstory's still tied to World War II. Like, they still existed during that war, and they've already referenced that throughout this entire run up until this point.
Right, but you need to put a date on it like that, where he's like, oh, I was born in 1918. He could have just said, you know, I've been around a while. You know what I mean? I don't know. There's just a weird thing with the date and him being 108 years old and running around and just like...
Yeah, but if you stopped and thought about it, it would just work out about the same. You may not know the exact number, but you'd be like, well, if he was already an adult in World War II, then...
Yeah. No, there's that. And with the way that this epilogue ends with them talking about like these new members, it feels like Infinity Inc. And they've done this before, you know. And at the end of the day, I really love just good JSA stories.
That's a fair critique. Is that this just feels like they're doing things they've done before. That's I want there to be a place for the JSA, and maybe it is just all the younger generation. Maybe you don't have the older generation there anymore. But I'm cool with them being there. The reason why Johnsy's JSA was so good was not because like they should still be around. It was because the stories were good. It was because it made it feel like a cool, unique team that was separate from the Justice League and all the rest of it. And there was good, serialized, ongoing storytelling. This is just kind of okay. And it's just, you know, and okay is the better part of the book, because the first arc was a little bit less than okay. It went from mediocre to okay.
I'm running out of steam again.
Yeah. Well, because that's been the range. It's been mediocre, and then it went up a bit to okay. And we've been kind of just staying at okay since. But it's not done anything at all to elevate out of that, because the story structure of this arc, while it's not as frustrating as the first arc, it still feels like, we were jumping around too many characters, and it feels like there was no time to do anything intricate with it, so it's just a case of them all bumping into each other eventually, and that's kind of it. So, I mean, that's mostly, I mean, obviously, I like that Stargirl and Atom Smasher are back in the book. I mean, that's cool, but at the same time, like, there was so many characters and it was jumping around so much that if you'd asked me, like, have they been in this book already since Lemire started his JSA book, I don't know if I would have been sure. I'd have probably had to sit and think about it. I was like, well, have they been around? Were they at all in that first arc? And they weren't, but like, it wasn't obvious, because it's not like everything with every other character was that memorable anyway, so they could have been, and I just forgot about it.
Right? No, absolutely. Like, at no point was I wondering, hey, where's Stargirl or Atom Smasher at and all this? You know? That said, I am wondering where Starman is in the year one story, because he seems like a pretty big deal, and it is Starco that blows up at the end.
Maybe
right?
he'll be a big reveal for the final part, or
Yeah,
I don't know. They'll say that he didn't show up till later or something. I have no idea.
yeah. You know, because and like with Adam Smasher being there, you have the original Adam, which is his uncle, I believe. Right. So you know, having some kind of equivalency there and a reminder too, instead of having them just pop up. That said, in some of the positives, the dynamic between Hawkman and the Atom cracked me up, because Carter's just yelling at him and calling him short, and Hippolyta's like, I think it's Hippolyta at least, is like, all right, boys, we both get it. You both have muscles. And then I know Hawkwoman goes, yeah, and you're twice the size. Let's chill. You know, so I thought that was a fun little moment inside. So there are little bright spots. I just wish I cared about what was going on in the story.
Yeah, Lemire clearly understands who the characters are. I just don't think the stories are that compelling.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like it's, you know, I do think that maybe deciding which, you know, maybe core 3 or 4 characters to focus on, like have the other characters be around, like have them be like there in the background in the ensemble or what, but he really should have decided like which 3 or 4 are his main characters for both this arc and the last arc. Like, who are you focusing on this time, and make it be their story, so we can spend more time with them and make it a bit more intricate. I feel like this making everyone evenly like important is just making everyone feel not important constantly.
Right.
So it's yeah. It's fine. It's okay, but it's a nothing burger ultimately, which is a shame. It's a shame.
Yep.
All right, what are you giving JSA 17?
I'm gonna give this I'll give it a 7.
Yeah, I'm going with a 6. I think that's it's just okay. Like that's where I'm at with it. So there you go. Pardon me.